In this video I will demonstrate how to generate a metabolic flux map using Gephi. Again, it will be for the trehalose pathway. What I want to do first is simply show you the folder where I have the information for trehalose mapping. I have the completed one. It's not really completed, but it's close. These can take quite a bit of work, and then hopefully they end up being a nice template for other studies where you're looking at the same pathways. Anyway, you see here that I have two Excel files and two CSV files. Gephi likes to import the CSV files. And we have one for the node and nodes and one for the edges. And this word numbers in the title will make sense in just a moment. I have these already open, but what I want to do is show you the end result that I've achieved so far with Gephi. And you can see we have three windows: Overview, Data Laboratory, and Preview. So I'll open this once again after we have imported to try to recreate this into a new file. So let me just close this. If you just finished watching the previous one already, you can see that there's quite dramatic differences between the display of the two. So I'm going to close this project. I'll save it. And we have a new project here, but anyway, I'll just say new project again. It wasn't necessary. And we have the overview window, the data laboratory, and then the preview window or tab. So we come to the data laboratory, and what we're going to do is we're going to first import the nodes. This is important, as you'll see in a moment, because it brings in the numbers that are assigned to the reactants. Remember, the list of nodes is the same as the vertex in Node Excel. And then the edges still are the reactions, and we'll import this table second, and we see a source and a target, and it'll be the numbers of the reactants that end up in these columns. Now let's just quickly go. I've got the Excel files already open for our node table, and we see it here. I have the column labeled ID. Let me just come back here to the nodes. We need a nodes ID and label. If your columns are labeled that, I guess it's not case sensitive, then it will be recognized and these will be populated when we import them. It's difficult to work in this. This is not the Excel environment, so it's easier to set up your Excel files to import, for me anyway, than to that's the edges. Okay, so we have ID, label, I guess, yeah, label. It'll set up the nodes when we import this. And then the species level, so it'll add a column when we import this. But we've got the ID, the label, and then additional information, and it will automatically create that column. Note at the bottom we have our scalars, so I found that this one is a little more particular about how you do it, and then once you bring your numbers in, it'll bring in negative values, but I haven't been able to input a negative value, so you seem to have to do all your work in, for me anyway right now, in Excel, and then recreate things. You can be flexible in here to delete everything and change it here in Excel, then import it again, and it updates everything. So there's some flexibility there. If the programmers ever watch this, hopefully they'll pay attention and help to modify their system for this type of application for research scientists. And so we can see our list of reactants again, and the names for our scalars, and we just number them. When I first was playing with Gephi, it liked to start with 100 and go from there, so I've done it and it seems to accept it. And we have our species level differences. These are the same values as before. Now we look at these. So what we're doing is 100 goes to 102, 101 also goes to 102 for social network analysis. This is me calling you and somebody else calling you, and then you calling somebody else, and then that person calling. As you can see, for a biochemical pathway, it progresses this way. We have our label, which is the same, and our scalar label, and then the weight. This one, if you title it weight, when it is imported, let's go to our edge table in here. You see the weight is already here. I keep opening the wrong one, sorry. This will automatically populate that column, and then the size of the arrows automatically will be set by this range of values here. So I've got a -13, so I did a -15. I found on this one to get a white as your zero color, you pretty much have to balance on either side. This becomes challenging because we only have negative values. So there's things like that. And then over here for the weight 2, that's the percent change in gene expression. And you can see we have a very offset range. But since this is 71, I went to plus 70 to get close to it. I don't know why I went to -75, but anyway, it won't really matter. You just play with these and get what you need. Trying to get our zero value at white. These would be slightly green. They might not be significant, so it wouldn't matter. These are large. This is slightly positive. Might not be statistically significant, so it doesn't matter. These certainly are statistically significant. So we have those created. Gephi likes to import a CSV, so we just do a save as and go to the CSV. You can see I already have them in there, but I'll show you how it's done. You click the save, and I am hearing the noise in my ear. Sorry, I thought you could hear it too. And this says it already exists, so no problem, but you'll always get this. To keep it, click yes, we want to keep it. If you have started with a fresh Excel, there will be more than one worksheet. It'll tell you that you can't have more than one worksheet in a CSV. So just read what is coming up on the screen very carefully. You can actually just work within your CSVs, and then when you do your save with this button here, it'll save it as a CVS. It'll keep that format. Okay, so then we come to Gephi. And what we're going to do is we want to do our nodes first, so we set it on the nodes table, and we import a spreadsheet. Want to make sure that we're telling it it's nodes here. It was still left on edges from my last practice. It's a comma separated, and I've got it set to go to that folder. You can see the little A in there is our CSV file. So I want to get my nodes. You see these come up. Everything is set, no red marks or anything. We see our column labels. The next level lets us see what they're going to come in as. A string is a line of text. We want this to be an integer. If you already have the ID number in there, it does leaves this unchecked. So we finish, and there we are, our nodes. It took the label that we had and it ID'd the nodes. We had our ID number, those came in all right, and our species differences. See how you have the negative numbers in here. You can't type in a negative number. You can't go in and try to edit a negative number either. If you click in here and click do that, you hit enter, oh, it did it. Okay, I stand corrected. I don't know what changed between last time I was doing it and this time. Anyway, before it wasn't letting me do it, so maybe it will. And then we come here, we import our spreadsheet. Now we want the edges table. You see it says wrong format, so we go to the edges table with the little A, and we're set. We go to next. The weight, it recognizes, it brings it in as a float, whatever that is. By default, it tells us a string. We want to get the integer. This is unchecked because everything's doing fine. If when you get into it, you might want to have it fix things for you automatically. You can play with that. Click finish. This comes in. We now have our reactions, 100 to 102, 101 to 102. It links them together for some reason. If you don't indicate otherwise, these come in when they're imported as directed. That means A goes to B, this goes to this. I called you, right? So we'll have an arrowhead is what that means. It assigns the IDs, and our labels came in, our weight came in as the flux change, change due to drought, and the weight 2, we probably can change the title of this. I was having troubles trying to figure out what it was. We could probably pre-label this as the percent change, percent difference in gene expression level, and of course we have our range values for the scalar quantities. Now we go to preview. I'll click refresh down here and it shows it on the screen. I don't know if this is necessary, but I come to do it anyway. We come here, and then I like to go to the edges and rescale, and I found if I set this to 25, it gives me kind of a nice image. And then I hit enter, and it's in there, and refresh, and then we've got that. You can't move things around in here. It ends up looking kind of keen, pretty cool, but I'm not sure what to do with it otherwise. Here's where we do our work. I use my little scroll button on the mouse, and I can do this. We can go to dragging. If I change the diameter, you see I've got that, so that grabs everything. I can center it. I can come here and make it smaller, whatever size I want. Go all the way to this, and you can grab individual ones. Come down here. You can see you can expand and collapse this window here down below. I'll just do that to give myself more space to look at for now. Put the labels on. Click the little T down here, show the node labels. Now I know what I've got. I want my scale over here, however you want it. So you can see you can arrange it. So I know my biochemical pathway. Let me see if I can remember it here. So we start with the alpha glucose, UDP glucose, goes to trehalose 6-phosphate. I found that, see, I haven't discovered how to reposition the node labels. Anyway, we get our pathway. I'm not going to do a lot of touching up. You can use this slide bar to change the size of the text. This will adjust the size of the arrows, maintaining the ratio. Remember, we had the percent flux difference in the weight column, so the arrows automatically adjust to the weights. We can come here and go to our edge, and we now have our edge labels. We can work on that. We can work on their size. I can go here, make them 64, and then even though I have that, I can still, like this, on that gray color might be better. I might change the other one that I've completed. Let's see, then we can come here to global. We can change our background, our nodes. We've got a disk 2D. I like the spheres. Our edges, we can do anything that we might want to there, but mostly what we want to do is come up here over to the top left under ranking. For nodes, if we hover here, we can see that this is the color and this is the size and the weight, so I want to go to that first. And we want to use the species level percent difference for that. I kind of pre-discovered the 10 to 200 would work here. We see I've got our minus 46 to minus 45. If you change these over here in your data laboratory, I haven't been able to get these to refresh when I click apply. I don't know how to do that. I exit, come back in, and then it will save it, exit, come back in, and it'll readjust. So I don't know what's going on there. But anyway, this gives us our spheres. And that's the size. See the little teeny trehalose there. And somewhere over here we've got our down minus 45. So this is the challenge of getting your up and your down coordinated and things like that. Now we go to the color. Again, I've preset it for the green to red. You've got defaults here, and I picked the where is it? Well, it's already picked. It's one that has the it's kind of like this, where it's green on the right, yellow in the middle, and or did I use white? and then red on the side, and then when you bring it in, then you can invert